On front page of Twitch today. So hello to all of you guys that are joining us. This is StarCraft 2, and this is a tournament that we actually have happening twice a year, $4,000, and the whole point of it is to test new maps that could make it to the competitive ladder and be used in pretty much all the competitive tournaments in the world. So this is kind of our sneak peek of potential future ladder maps, and it's our way of seeing, basically it's a whole competition where map makers submit their maps and people are like, okay, well, there's some judges and we bring it down to 16 maps in total, and then we throw them into a tournament and we have these 16 maps played out a whole bunch and we see where it goes from there, and we have some fun and action, and we obviously get to see the maps and then people vote on them and they join the ladder map pool and stuff like that, which is pretty exciting. As we have to the bottom right hand side, sorry. Getting all my directions wrong already. Bottom right side, our red Zerg player. To kick us off, this is Impact. Up against the blue Protoss. In the top left-hand side, this is herO. So Impact, one of these players that is consistently strong, but never really at the top of the Korean scene, right? He's always kind of in the top 16. He can take maps off of, I would say, pretty much anybody in Korea. But he never really manages to kind of string enough games together to make a really deep run. He's just made it into the round of 16 of GSL, so, I mean, he is hoping he can do something with this. As herO, he's a veteran. I mean, he's won championships. He's been out, and he's really just been one of these players that actually was one of the best in the world for a while, and we definitely didn't see as much of him last year, and especially in the last half of last year, but he's back, he's ready, and excited to see what he can bring to the table here in 2019. Already having a pretty good run here, having a good time in GSL as well. As you do see the Nexus just on the way up and getting this set to go. herO and Impact actually have a bit of a rivalry. They played against each other so often in the last year or two. Especially I remember casting them in the VSL finals. And in the VSL finals, it was Impact who took down herO, and that was like a big surprise. I was like, whoa, Impact won a tournament, and it was like, wow, and that was really exciting. And then since then, they just keep on playing, and they like to trade maps with each other, and it's actually a pretty cool matchup. They usually kind of come out pretty even, so it really is a pretty exciting, sort of matchup to have here in terms of the players going up against each other and stuff like that. Quick question from the chat. Do I manually zoom in every time I'm presenting the players? And if so, how do you pull that off every time? Practice, man. You just like, woof. You just get used to where the mouse is going to be, you know? It's, you do this for a few years, and believe it or not, you do this a few times a day. And it definitely helps out. Turns out practice makes perfect. We already have the early build order choices being made here. Twilight Council from herO is going to set him up with the Robo Facility as well into something along the lines of an Archon drop. Probably with the Dark Shrine sooner rather than later. Impact will poke in, and well, the Stalker will jump on that Overlord now. So this Overlord's going to die, so he's like, okay, I may as well just commit further in. 2 more gates, okay. Usually you would add 1 gate and then DT Shrine, then 2 more gates. Still haven't seen that Dark Shrine. It is going to come up though. Okay, so just getting this wall off set up, then another gateway will come here, and then he's just got this little gap here to fill with a unit. And that's what we're seeing for the moment. Is that not walled off? You don't have the... I guess maybe he doesn't have the pylon range over there. Okay, well, this wall is a little bit scuffed, and it is one of the issues we see when players are playing on new maps, like in the TLMC, where they maybe haven't played on these a lot of times, obviously, maybe just a couple times throughout the tournament. And so it becomes this sort of situation where walling off your building structure can sometimes go a little bit wonky. I wouldn't say there's anything weird about this front. Obviously, herO just misjudged it a little bit. Maybe this power just needs to be 1 hex further this way to power this location as well. I'm sure that's all that was really missing out here. So, just a little something. It's not going to matter too much in this game because we can already see Impact. He's not going into a Baneling Burst. He's not going into a Zergling Flood. So he's not going to try and be super aggressive across the map in the very early stages. And so the weaker wall-off has less negatives than it might usually. So in the end of the day, this is kind of all right for herO. He is going to get away a little bit, light-handed from that. As you do see the Stalker and the Adept dealing with a couple of Lings out in the center. I'm just going to be seeing a little bit more damage being dealt. Going to take that forward third base as well. We definitely have seen the players over here. The first DTs run in. Now there's a Spore Crawler here actually, but the Spore Crawler here, I mean, you can see the DTs, but you don't actually have the units to actually fight them at the moment. The Queen's actually targeting the Prison, though. The Prison needs to keep on running. Oh my god, the Prison's actually going to go down because he's busy dealing with the Zerglings on the other side of the map. So War Prism dead, that's a little bit of an annoyance. At least he keeps the High Templar, the Dark Templar alive. That means he can morph in those Archons still at some stage. The DTs back home to help defend as the Zerglings do make it through. The Stalker backed away to give these Zerglings access. We've got one DT and a few Zealots in the main, and they'll just go those Zerglings to try and pick up a couple of probes, and they will get just one so far. Good defense by herO, actually. Very impressive, as one more will go down. So 2 probes are killed. It was this other one on the low ground that fell. I mean, Impact isn't looking to be ultra aggressive here. This is only, what, 7 roaches? 8 roaches? It's not that many, so he's not looking to push forwards and be super aggressive. He just wants, like, okay, well, I've pushed you back. There's no Archons at home, and I've got these roaches. I may as well do something with them, and they have picked off 2 probes now. So it's a, it's a cool little push across the map. Works out quite nicely, as we're going to be seeing a couple of extra Archons morphing in here. And Impact just continuing to come down to the center with, well, these roaches. Now morphing in another Ravager. So maybe Impact is saying, hey, you know what? There is a potential for me to be a little bit aggressive here. He's only stuck on 56 drones. He hasn't gone into any further workers past this, and that's been for a little while now. So really building up a little bit more Roach Ravager. Now Roach Speed's about to kick in. We'll see if he maybe wants to wait for +1. That's a little while away, but it could be something he goes for. Here's the War Prism now out. Does have the 2 Archons available. As, oh, a nice Contaminate on the Robo facility. And as he contaminates the Immortal, it wasn't very far along, so herO just says, cool, I'll cancel that and spend my money elsewhere for a moment or two, get that value, and then kind of go from there. But this is really nice because against a Roach heavy style, Immortals are very important. The Immortals come from this Robo facility. So not only is Contaminating slowing it down, but also having killed the Warp Prism early in the game and forced another one of these to be made, it's caused the Warp Prism to come out, and that again also slows down Immortal-based production here. So really, herO's been slowed down a lot in terms of what he's been able to build out of that Robo, and it's definitely not been what he wants, as he does have a shield battery setting up here. I mean, honestly, a few more shield batteries might go a long way for him. These little areas here are very choked up, so you can definitely defend with force fields, but he keeps moving forwards, and he's going to run right into the middle of the map, and these roaches are just going to start surrounding him, and herO was not meant to be here. Although I don't think he had a good read on the fact that this was super aggressive out of Impact, because there is no world in which he actually wants to be forwards like this. I mean, the force fields have to come down in a super open area, so instead of cutting the army in half here, the army's just still spread out and having the time of its life, as you see another couple of corrosive bars dropping down. I mean, these Archons are surviving a long time. He's just brought them back in from the Warp Prism. Misses the lift up, though. He's down to only 1 Immortal. Another one on the way, but not ready yet. Loses another Archon before it gets lifted. This one can't lift because it's morphing in. The Corrosive Bowels will help out with this. And at this stage, it looks like Impact has probably done just a little bit too much damage already, as Roaches and Ravagers will continue to clean up this force here on the front line. A couple of extra Zealots morphing in on the background. And a couple more Corrosive Bowels just dropping down, just to help out. I mean, the Zealots will charge in, but they're all choked up by Ravagers morphing and by force fields. And there's just nothing left here really for herO. His Impact with way too much in game number 1. This Roach Ravager push. I like the decision. Like I said, I think everything went right for him to be able to pull this attack off very successfully in this game. And at this stage, these Immortals now are microing a bit better than the previous things we saw being microed, but it's just way too late, right? The third base is going down. herO basically has nothing left, like a few Zealots running forwards. So all of this will just go down to the Roach Ravager, as it just backs away a little bit and just dances around. I mean, the reinforcements from Impact will just come across the map so quickly and so regularly, and that's what we continue to see here. There's a couple more Corrosive Bowels dropping, and herO, again, just really caught off by how much Roach Ravager was. Basically, Impact makes this decision where instead of continuing to build workers, he builds a lot of army, and it's not very typical of the Zerg. It's definitely something they can do. It's not unheard of, but usually a Zerg player always focuses, or often focuses, on building up a strong economy and playing a longer game. And if you don't know that this attack is coming, then being out in the middle of the map isn't good for you. You know, you don't have a chance to set up any extra defenses, such as extra shield batteries and so on. And obviously then it all falls apart. GG, and Impact is going to be taking game number 1 of this best of. Let's introduce some players. This map's, I really like the aesthetic of this map. It is a very pretty one, I think, the way that it's like, maybe it's just like, I like the kind of the contrast of the black and white. I guess it's very, if you don't like the black and white contrast, maybe it's not so pretty, but I like the way it looks personally. As we do have to the top right hand side, our red Zerg, Impact. Up against the blue Protoss in the bottom left, herO. So Impact versus herO here, game number 2. And herO's already bringing a very early probe up to this top side of the map. Now he does have a pile on his base. It's not anything super crazy, but I feel like he's watching for this third base. When it's not gonna... I think, is he in the wrong place? Like, does he think that's the natural? It's an interesting little spot to have the probe, and I think he's starting to realize now that there's no real reason for him to be here. So I think, yeah, he's realizing that that was not the natural expansion. That's a little bit of a mistake. Gonna go up to the other side, and this time he will see, okay, the natural's already placed down, so he didn't get to slow that down at all, which is a bit of a shame, because with a pylon scout, you are generally looking to slow things down a little bit. We'll throw a pylon down here, and the drone will come down and see this in a moment, and this could cause a bit of a reaction from the Zerg, and there you go, some workers pulling down, because this pylon, it could be the sign of a cannon rush, so these workers pulling down to try and stop this from happening. Hero's this last moment cancels the pylon, so this costs him 25 minerals. Well, these 6 drones that are not mining now, that's some significant mining time. Right now they're long distancing, so they're definitely not being efficient, and we'll go back into the main base. So the pylon buys him just a little bit of time off the mining, and that's a nice little something from herO here. Just a little bit of something back after, again, definitely not being able to block the hatchery right at the start. Cybernetics core is about halfway done from herO as well, so getting that Cybernetics core up, and pretty much very standard beyond this, right? The Nexus, the Cyber core, just going to be seeing the double gases now are being taken, so we have those set up as well. And everything here from herO looking pretty good for the most part, as we see the Nexus just going to finish, and we'll see where this game's going to go. We see the third hatch coming down over here. Now this map comes in from the Challenge 1 section of the TLMC, which means that they have to mine out some minerals to open pathways on the map. These minerals here, they don't take long to mine out, and they do open up this very kind of comfortable base to take. If you can take this base, then you can get this low ground fourth, and you're kind of in a very cool little kind of pocket of bases that becomes very easy to defend, actually. So that's something that was quite prevalent the other day when a couple of players started to actually take that base. When this base gets taken, it does not get attacked compared to, say, this base over here. So definitely worth trying to mine out those minerals as the game goes on. Single Adept coming across to the upper right-hand side. Stargate opening from herO. This is a bit more traditional of the Protoss versus Zerg matchup. The Stargate gives you a lot of options. By going into Stargate, you can get the Oracle out, which is very good at defending the third base, because it can deal with Zerglings very well. It's very good at harassing and picking up information and just scouting in general. So that's all. These are all things that the Oracle can definitely kind of pay attention to and do very well. And then you also have a few options nowadays in terms of how you follow up. You can go double Oracle, Oracle Phoenix Oracle. It's going to be double Oracle right away this time. The Stalker is generally a pretty good sign that it's not going to be a Phoenix. And because it's not a Phoenix early, it does take away the option of this potentially being a double Stargate Phoenix, because why would you skip the Phoenix if you're going to end up building, you know, a lot of Phoenix anyways? So it kind of continues to keep us on this kind of line of thought where it's a couple of Oracles, it's a couple of gates, the robot facility dropping down as well. It's, you know, it's just a pretty standard sort of way to get set up here in the early stages. We do see the few extra Zerglings on the way out, the Evo Chamber finishing up in the back of the natural expansion. And there's Queen just coming up to throw an inject down on the main base. What's up, Senpai SE2? Thank you so much for the 26-month resub. Thank you and much appreciated. Hope you're doing well. 26 years, poggers. Impact going to use this early Evo Chamber, and while we see a different style out of herO initially, he is still going to go Twilight Robo. And while this will be Dark Shrine into the Archon drops, it is very likely to be a Templar Archives, as oh my god, those Oracles! Monster moding in the natural expansion. 10 workers killed, loses 1 Oracle, but for 10 workers, I would take that any day of the week. That is absolutely fantastic. Great damage done here by herO. I was just talking about it. He adds on 5 extra gates, and I mean, why the heck wouldn't you after you deal that much damage? Extra gates and just looking to push aggressively is going to work wonders when your opponent is going to be this far behind. Good sentry warping here as well, gets the Stalker saved. Really good defense at the front against those Lings. Very, very nicely done. But I was just going to say, obviously with the +1 melee, it's a different style of play from Impact altogether. He's going to play a Ling Bane opener versus, you know, compared to the Roaches into, you know, Rouge's last game. We never really saw Hydras coming up. So a completely different style from him, but obviously, again, the early damage taken makes it very difficult for him to survive a huge follow-up attack. And with 6 gates already done and 4 more on the way, this is absolutely crazy amounts of commitment from herO. He's going to commit so many units here. Builds a pylon right here, leaves the Oracle here too. It makes it look like he wants to expand, so if the Zerg sees it, he's like, ah, okay, expansion's about to come down. But in reality, it's a huge attack coming across the map. Now, a couple of High Templar getting warped in. This is back at home still, actually, so just sending a few Zealots across initially. Interesting way of doing this. Usually the High Templar are in that prism if they are, becoming Archons, and then they come across the map and see what they can do. Well, I'm going to see the couple of Zealots starting to drop down. Lings and Queens are in a good position to defend right away. Now the rest of the army starts to walk across. Still doesn't feel like Impact sees too much. The single Zergling will see the Zealot and the Sentry. herO adds on another pylon at the front here. I mean, eventually he may want to take that third base, which is why he's building pylons in that location. He's not afraid of a counterattack because he knows Impact will have to have everything at home to defend this. And here we go. A few Banes have morphed in. Obviously, the thing we want to try and do with these Banelings is hit the Zealots. Well, the Protoss player will try and stop you from hitting the Zealots. That Stasis Ward, by the way, going to go off and catch a few extra units as well. And I mean, as the extra Warpins come in, you can just see that these Zealots are going to start overrunning the Zerglings. Then the Hydras come out, but there's no Banelings to support this anymore, and that's the big issue. Because the Banelings really are your key to kind of giving the Hydras and the Lings a chance to get rid of everything else. And Impact's going to type out GG, knowing that this has gone a little bit too out of control, and he sure everything's running smoothly and so on as well. As we jump on into game 3, just before we do, Dvorsek comes in with the 11-month sub. Thank you so much for the 11 months. How are you doing? Much appreciated, and thank you so very much. Song name, you can always find the songs with an exclamation mark song in the chat. I'll give you a link to the last FM, which will tell you what the recently played songs on the chat were. But you know what, Azrai, I'll do you a favor. This song was called Brother in the Morning Light by Golden Youth. There you go. You can thank me for that later. I went all the way into my Spotify to check that for you. Bottom right side, our red Zerg is Impact, and he is getting pro-blocked on the low ground. This is kind of what herO wanted to do in the last game, but wasn't able to because he went to the wrong base a little bit accidentally. So that's definitely, definitely a little bit more successful this time. And as he blocks with the pylon as well, he's already forced the gas in the pool before the hatchery. So just slowing down the economy-based build of the Zerg slightly. Doesn't kill the Zerg, doesn't hurt them too much. It just forces them into a slightly different opener. And we'll probably see this drone ended up expanding towards the third base, wherever he chooses that to be. Oh, no, actually going to cancel the pylon. So maybe this drone can get the third hatch down in position without issue. Impact wants it, and he does sneak it down there. So third hatchery comes into play. And herO still denied this for quite a while. I mean, the gas and the pool are finished up now already. Obviously, it is herO, our blue Protoss player, on the top left side of the map. And he's just being pesky with that probe early game. Now, going to be walling off, not on the low ground just yet, so that'll come in a little bit later at the moment. Currently just seeing that pilot gate in the side core up in the main. As the Overlord coming across the map to have a little peek to see what's going on. Now, I'm not going to lie, I'm a little bit biased today because I would love to see some non-ZVZ matchups in the semi-finals. So I would love to see the Protoss players winning out their quarterfinal matchups. Just because I know ZVZ is not terrible. I know a lot of you guys think it is, but I would love to see some more PvZ. Rather than the ZVZ, especially just for testing the maps. I think the PvZ is a little bit better at it. We just have so many Zergs in this tournament today. Again, this is the set quarterfinals right now. Impact versus herO. The winner of this plays against Rogue in the semi-finals. And then on the other side of the bracket, we have Solar versus Zest, and the winner of that will play against Sue in the semi-finals. So, some really sick matches lined up for the day. And hopefully you guys are looking forward to it. As you see the Stalker poking this Zergling back. And then coming all the way back through into the center of the map as the Overlord just going to hang out on the high ground. It's interesting because this Stalker, again, I mean, it probably means we're not going to see a Phoenix out of herO, because otherwise you would just have, there's no need for the Stalker. Stalker isn't a great early game unit in PvZ, and its only real use is to push this Overlord away. So, it is going to be a Phoenix though. Okay, well this kind of feels like a bit of a mind game almost, because again, why get that Stalker early? It's a bit funky. Maybe he changed his mind because he didn't kill the Overlord. There's actually two Overlords up here, so if the Phoenix finds it, then that's going to be some free pickings for herO, and he'll be pretty happy with it. Maybe that's the whole plan. By building a Stalker, this Overlord like, aha, I can stay safe right here. And as herO comes in, he finds it, and he's going to be like, well, Yeah, that's a little bit unlucky. Probably isn't expecting the second Overlord over here. Impact should really stop flying this towards the Phoenix. Because if I was here right now, I would not send my Phoenix to the top right after this. I would send it down the bottom left. So he's going to kill this Overlord. Let's see where he goes afterwards. Yeah, he's going to go down the bottom left. There's just no... You would never expect two Overlords to come the same way. So that Overlord definitely did want to turn around and keep itself hidden there. And will be able to stay up on the map for later in this. Okay, well, there's the second Stargate. So, double Stargate Phoenix, the style this time around. Different plays every single time here from herO so far. So, with the second Stargate, what he's setting up for is obviously a lot of Phoenix, and they're going to look to do a lot of harassing, a lot of lifting of units from Impact, killing off drones, queens, overlords generally. Now Impact's going for a +1 melee again, so he's going to be pretty Ling heavy as he plays the Ling Bane opener. And the Ling heavy style can be very frustrating to deal with when you play double Stargate Phoenix, especially because there's no Oracle here. No, you can go double Stargate Phoenix off of like one Oracle, but without the Oracle, it means this third base is so much more exposed. And he's going to see the Phoenix is going to pick this up. Now that might already be pretty good information here actually for Impact, because he sees another Phoenix so early in the game. He knows the first one was already down on the map scouting, so to see that other one coming back in so quickly, he might just be like, ah, okay, you're making more than one Phoenix. And that could be a good little telltale sign as to what's happening in this game. And you can see instantly a whole bunch of Spore Crawlers come down, even 2 per base at places. In fact, is it 2 per base in every base? Not in this natural expansion, but on the main and the third base there is. And that's just because the natural's a bit more difficult to get into, because the queens are more typically going to be in this position anyways. So yeah, Impact definitely picking up some information there that allows him to start responding to this already. As that Overlord on the high ground gets taken down. Queen still pressing forwards. A couple creep jammers wants to come down here as well, as the Phoenix now heading back over to the right-hand side. So Phoenix back over to the right, ready to pop into the main base. There's again a few more Zerglings on the way out. Spore Crawler well positioned, and those Phoenix are unable to do much at the moment. And this is a really good shutdown from Impact. herO just kept from dealing any sort of damage, and this is kind of painful for him. He's going to find himself an Overlord here, finally getting something done. I mean, you can see overall, he's killed about 5 Overlords, which is quite impressive, I guess, because the Phoenix didn't really kill 5. That's actually a bit crazy. But it's only Overlords. He hasn't found any drones, he hasn't found any queens, and so Impact's been able to keep himself at a pretty good little bit of economy. He's being able to keep his injects going, his creep spread rolling for out. Everything looks very good there for Impact. And again, this is kind of the dream opener, not really allowing those Phoenix to do anything so far. Now, a few Banes are actually going to morph up on this ramp, just out of range on the units on the high ground. I think Impact probably expects the third base to be here, not over here, as these couple of Phoenix will see those Banes morph it in. That is going to go rolling towards the natural, so Ling Bane counterattack right here, and there's Pylon Wall. Oh, well, that's going to be very weak to these Banes. I mean, not just the Zealot going to go down, the Pylons will as well. The force field will not cover everything here. A couple of Zealots still surviving, though, and the Lings will not be able to run up into the third base, and this actually turns out to be kind of a decent hold in the end, surprisingly so. Phoenix fighting across the map, and they do find the Queens a bit far forward, so actually getting a bunch of kills here at the same time. herO finding a whole bunch of damage, so great job by this. I mean, this was actually turned into an incredibly good defense, right? I mean, in the end, the Banes never connected on anything. The Zealots and so on held at the front of the natural. The third base is up and secure. And the Phoenix is starting to find more and more damage across the map. So that's starting to build up here now. And this is getting a bit desperate for Impact. He rolls some more Banes in. I mean, there's another force field available from herO. He blocks the majority of Banes. And, well, that's good. However, there's going to be this gateway going down. And now the Zerglings will run in. And those sentries will be surrounded. Units will come across from the third base, try and help defend the natural. Is going to be seen here just somewhat desperately re-walling the front to try and minimize damage. Bane's now rolling in towards the third base as well. Phoenix coming in here, but the probes, they start to pull away. That's probably enough. 10 workers. It's very manageable at the moment because herO still has a worker lead. And we're going to see these Phoenix. They don't really want to lift up Zerglings, but they will if they have to, just to hold on. As you see these other Lings on the low ground, they find that sentry, but it's not going to go down to the help of the shield battery. A couple of sentries here in some trouble. Might want to lift the sentry in the Phoenix, because then the Zerglings obviously can't attack it. That's one little piece of micro we see sometimes that helps out a lot. This turned in from 10 probes killed to 24 probes killed, which is a bit more dangerous. And you can see that Impact's taken the chance to drone up from there. So he's gone from 40, 50 drones of his own to 61 with 7 more in production. So suddenly it feels like Impact is able to do maybe enough damage to justify the commitment. herO still has a larger army supply though, and he also still has these Phoenix on the map, which are not really answered for. There's a lair up, there's a Hydraless den down, but there's no Hydras on the map still. So these Phoenix still have some free reign to get extra damage done, as a few extra Banes going to roll in towards the third base. Finds himself with another couple of probes. Could really just do with a couple of cannons here. Now I know there's no forge right now, but if there was, it might just even be worth investing into the forge just to get those couple cannons to help out with those Banes running into that third base all of the time. Because obviously at this stage here, he wants to start putting more probes on this third base, resaturating that. Unless he just goes for an attack. I mean, he's getting extra gates. His charge +1 and Temple Archives are all finishing shortly. Just the fact he isn't building any new probes is obviously a little bit terrifying, really, as you see Lings running by into the main once again. I mean, that's just a massive gap in the roll-off there, so that's very painful. A couple of Banes going to morph in the corner. I think herO is onto this, though. He's going to send a single Zealot over. Just also has to deal with those couple of Zerglings that are still in the back of the mineral line as well, so despite the units getting in, it's a good follow-up defense, and it's just that one Ling that's been a little bit of a nuisance, but the sentry finally finds the range to take it down. Yeah, herO's just not building any probes at all, though. Just warping in units, getting a couple of cannons, he's getting Storm as well. I am just surprised he doesn't build the 10 extra workers to saturate this third base. I mean, that's all he needs, 10 more workers, and the main natural and third are all saturated up. Yeah, I mean, obviously then you want to think about maybe a few more as you go into a fourth base, but yeah, I'm a little bit surprised, not going to lie. Phoenix coming over to the left-hand side. You see the single Zergling patrolling out in the center. So Ling over there having a little bit of a fun time as we see some extra Zealots are warping in. Some Zealots, High Templars, a couple of Immortals too. Pressing down through the center. Some Creep Tumors already being cleaned out. So here comes the fight. I mean, we mentioned that herO's probably heading into an engagement because of the fact he wasn't building any more workers. First Storm was a bit of a miss, actually, hitting his own Zealots more so than anything else. The other Storms, though, are very good against those Hydras on the left-hand side. However, there's just not enough of a follow-up here, and there's no Warp Prism or anything to bring in Zealots to this fight and anything along those lines. So these Phoenix are not going to be able to do enough in the end. Here comes some Zealots from the other side, but way too late to the party. I mean, they were needed a little while ago. Some feedbacks go down in the Queen with this High Temple. They can't really do anything else. I mean, why is there no Warp Prism, right? Like, there's a Robo up. There's no reason not to have a Warp Prism with that initial fight. He's got a Warp Prism, but like, why not bring it in sooner? Why not have it there before you take the engagement? There's no rush. I don't think there's a need to rush in. You know, not for, you know, the 10-second difference that it makes and how effective it would be. I think herO's in a lot of trouble here in game number 3 as Impact going to be having a few more of his Hydras lifted, the Archons at the front. I mean, they're doing good damage, but the Queens are actually pretty tanky, and now the Hydras are putting out good damage as well. In fact, the Zealots here to kind of buy time, well, even if it's not show up, a couple of Banelings do as well. They roll right on into that, and that's going to be GG. Impact picks up game 3. The Impact is up 2-1 here. He needs to win one of the next 2 games, while herO needs to win both. And so the top left-hand side, the blue Zerg. This is Impact. Up against the red Protoss, we have got herO here on Winter's Gate. Okay, so getting set up, and we're going to be seeing the wall-off on this map. I haven't really noticed this before. This wall-off is kind of crazy, right? Because where do you wall off? I guess like gate. Actually, it's not that bad. It just looks wider than it is. I guess it's just a triple building wall-off. But it looks a lot bigger than a triple building wall-off initially in the Fog of War, especially. Just this gap here, I don't know, maybe just the angling of it makes it look a little bit different. Okay, well, probe coming around and just mining away at a few of these minerals. Couple of drones on the way out. Gonna throw down an extractor or so. And just waiting to see what the opener will turn into here. Mostly from herO. There's very few things that a Zerg player can do in the early stages of a game to kind of come out and be like, okay, well, I'm going to change it up by doing this. I mean, that little bit of a Ling Bane bust in the last game was a good little response to the fact it was heavy on the Phoenix. And what a shame for herO, after defending so well against the fact, you know, when it was a surprise, to kind of just falling apart to the follow-up wave of it. Especially when you had the sentries there and the force fields available too. That's a real shame. Cybernex core dropping down. This is just a free building wall off in the end. So another building here, you'll have a little gap for your Zealot to sit in. That means that units can move in and out of the base, while also keeping it walled off against the pesky Zerg. Now this map has inhibitor zones. Now these are something that are new to StarCraft 2 with this map contest. These are slow zones, so any unit, ground or air, that runs through these areas will get slowed down quite significantly. So it kind of makes the map interesting because it means the middle of the map is a bit rough to walk through. But especially this base here, I feel is then much more easily defended because you have this slow zone to help slow units trying to attack into it a lot of the time. Now Impact will just expand down to the low ground, so he's going to take that low ground third, so he's not going to take the high ground. Where do you see Stargate once again from herO? He's been going Stargate the last couple of games. Again, it's very standard, it's very safe, and especially when you're down a game, I think no reason to risk not going for the Stargate, because if Impact like Link Floods, which he's making a few Zerglings, but he is on 24 drones, so it's not going to be Lings, and only Lings. This is just a let's defend against the Adept sort of setup. But if he was to cut on like 19 drones and make purely Zerglings, the Stargate is the best way to deal with a Link Flood like that, because the Oracle is just so effective. As you see, this Depth Shade quite far forwards. It's going to be off cooldown in a moment, so these guys can shade forwards together if they would like. And we'll see if they can get into the main. He sees the Lings and they're right on top of the shades, which means that you can't realistically commit to it. And we'll just see that shade cancelling right there. And the Adept's going to be just sitting back and heading forwards. Again, the Adept shades do not get slowed by the inhibitor zones, which is kind of interesting, because if you're using the inhibitor zones to slow down the rush distance from one side of the map to the other, well then you can obviously nullify that by Adept shading through, and that might just make the map a little bit too small, right? So that's something that's kind of intriguing to think about when it comes to the map designing for these maps that introduce the inhibitor zones. Robotics Facility and a Twilight Council on the way up. I mean, if you haven't gathered from the last couple of games, this is very typical and very standard of a ZVP opening. There's double queen here. This Oracle will fly into the natural. There's another queen in position though, so quite a lot of damage taken. We'll cut across through to the main. Squawk there gets one more drone. This Oracle is very committed though. The Phoenix makes its way out. Generally the Phoenix comes in with the Oracle with the idea of you lift up the queen that's there and you can just use the Oracle to target down a few drones. Generally you get 2 to 3 workers, so he's found the 3 workers. Just the Oracle did take some damage and looked like it was a bit trapped, but is able to find its way out of the main base without going down. So that's very important there, as we see these couple of Adepts shading forwards and coming through towards the natural. They're going to just commit and walk straight in. The drone's pulling right away as well. You can see he's kind of serious, like, okay, I need to kind of stop this from becoming much of a thing. Shuts it down with only 2 drones lost. So again, Impact minimizing damage taken here in these early stages. Seeing this wall prism about to pop out, we're also seeing the gateways continuing up as well. Charge starting right away. Again, with 4 gates being added on, this is 6 gates total, and it's one of those more aggressive setups from herO, like we saw in game number 2. Now, it's not a 10-gate super duper 2 base all in. Generally, the 6 gates charged on Archon builds will just transition through in towards a 3rd base, and that 3rd base already dropping down. Here you can see a couple of cells in the depth. We'll probably just sit on this base with the Oracle to keep it defended. As we see, Roaches from Impact. So Roach is going to be very important to help deal with this. The first 4 High Templar warping in. He's got the Oracle here to protect the High Templar for a moment or 2 against the Zerglings as well. High Templar can't obviously fight when they're warping in, and then they morph into Archons, and they obviously can't fight during this stage either. Once they're finished morphing, they can lift straight up into the Warp Prism, and now they are ready to fight. So it's just that Oracle there to kind of buy some time against the Lings. As they try to run forward, they will attack their Cybernetics score. A couple of units come over from the 3rd base, and there's plenty to clean this up. No real problem here at all. So back towards the front, where we're looking to see what damage may be done. Did he just lose the Warp Prism while we were looking on the other side of the map? He just lost the Warp Prism. Man, that's so bad. herO has just been a little bit sloppy with his plays today. It's followed up, by the way, an Immortal, a couple more gates. This is looking a bit more aggressive this time around. But again, having to rebuild that Prism, he's already not dealing extra damage, which he might usually be. And that's a big deal, like, because if you're at this stage, you're already picking off a couple extra drones, etc. for free while building up into this attack, and you get another Immortal instead of the Prism. That's very powerful, but as it stands, it's obviously not like that at all, and it will slow down his attack. It'll slow down, stop his attack being as powerful. An Impact up on 66 drones feels greedy, but again, I feel like herO's attack is a little bit late coming in, so I'm not sure if it actually is too greedy. And this game might be decided in the next little while, as we see this Phoenix flying away down the right-hand side. things jumping on towards this Overlord. I mean, just doing a little bit of damage, being a bit of a nuisance. The army's starting to move out. These few units actually went down the bottom. If certainly just patrolling here. Okay, well, across the map we go. 13 Hydras about to come up. herO has an army supply advantage, which is very good for him. It was actually really sick that he's got this. So it's a very possible fight to make happen for him, despite the couple of things that went wrong for him early. Got one Immortal a little bit far away. He just dives right into this already. The Oracle goes down to the Queens. Nice force fields as well. However, now the force fields are going to protect the other Zerg units a little bit. Now the Archon's spending quite a lot of time actually hitting that War Prism, hitting the Spore Crawler, which could be dangerous against the War Prism. You see that War Prism here to the top side. I mean, the units are winning out to the left. They're kind of winning out to the top. A few more Zealots will go a massive distance. Lift that Archon up. I'm not sure what's up with herO's micro today. Just missing a lot of lifts that should be very easily made. Already killing a lot of drones here, and you begin to feel that that's already kind of the beginning of the end, because, well, units are just not going to really recover from this sort of losses from impact. It's going to be very difficult for them to get units out. His units are going to be split up. The units that build on this base, for example, are going to go down almost instantly. This Archon goes down again. This is really just sloppy play though from herO. Like, he is not playing... He's not playing pretty StarCraft 2. Like, it's good, and it's good enough to maybe take this game, but it could be so much better. Imagine if you could save these Archons every single time. It's a completely different scenario, actually. As that Archon does get saved here, the Warp Prism goes into warping mode, getting some Zealots in front to protect the Archons again. He should know there's a fourth base up by the fact that these units keep running in from the bottom side. Zealots go chasing forwards. We'll have to pull back a little bit. Again, that fourth base is up, and Impact will have that to use here. You're going to see the couple of Zealots dropping down, means he can save the Immortal if needed. Again, herO just could have saved so many more units here and done so much more with this that he unfortunately has missed out on. There's a couple of High Templar from herO finishing up on the third base. A couple of Stalkers hanging out at the front as well. All of these units from herO gathering on up as the Overseer from Impact just going to drop through into the main base. Have a little bit of a look around as the Phoenix will start nibbling its way through that. Impact is continuing to build up units actually. So he built a few drones, replaced those, and gets them onto the hatchery here. Going to start Baneling Nest as well as herO. There's Immortal contaminated, so that gets slowed down. He's going for another wave of this attack, which can't disagree with. I mean, I think it's the right decision. He's got a couple of Immortals already out and across the map harassing. And again, whatever you pick off here for now, when it only costs you shields and so on the Immortals. Well, I mean, actually, look at this. The entire army just pulls up over here. Now the Zealots and so on are charged into the fourth base. So it's actually just going to drag Impact completely out of position. So it actually turns out to be a much more important play than just a little bit of harassment. This entire base is going down in the meantime. And that puts the Zerg down to 2 bases. And that's unwinnable. So he types out to wrap up this series. The top left-hand side, our red Protoss player. This is herO. And at the bottom right, we have got the blue Zerg, Impact. Thanks so much, Hard Revenge, for the $5 donation. Says, hey Woody, I just wanted to tell you, I had a date for Valentine's Day. It was February 14th. Well, you know what, that's actually really useful, Hard Revenge, because I didn't know it was Valentine's Day. No one sent me any flowers. You know, you got a Twitch chat and they all say they love you, and yet none of you send me flowers. Just saying. God damn it. Alright. So, getting up into this game 5. Everything hinges on this map. And again, we do have some more matches coming up after this. This is just our first series of the day. So, herO versus Impact. And then we have Solar versus Zest. Then we have the winner of herO Impact taking on Rogue. The winner of Solar Zest will then take on Sue. And we have our grand final as well. So that's what's coming up in the next few hours here in the Team Liquid map contest tournament. As you do see this Overlord heading across and having a little scout around in the very near future. Second Overlord will go across the map as well. For a little while there was a little bit of a meta game where the Zergs didn't send their second Overlord across the map. And they just sort of said, well, you know what, Phoenix openings are just so common, it's just not worth me sending 2 Overlords to be slain by Phoenix in the early game. But, well, it's kind of come back into fashion a little bit now. As you see the Overlord heading in towards the upper left-hand side. Silver TV with the 3 months says it's no flowers, but it's something. Feels okay, man. Thanks so much for the 3 month resub. Do appreciate it. Hope you're doing well as we have the Robo facility. on the way up right now. So robotics facility building, sentry being chrono boosted out here as well from herO. So again, the sentry out, the stalker on the way in as well. I'm just going to be seeing that warp gate starting up in the main base. A few Zerglings continue to come on out. And again, as that link speed comes into play, just going to be seeing, I mean, this is quite a lot of lings, and it looks like you are going to be seeing a bit of a link flood. Now, herO has not been walling off the low ground in these games, and that's going to start being very costly soon, as this sentry is just out in the middle of nowhere, and he is going to have to pull that back up to the high ground. The lings surround it, though, and force fields to buy a little bit of extra time, but this is bad. Now, the fast rover as well, he's going to get an immortal, but that's not exactly great against the, against the wacky world of Zerglings. They are just so good against immortals, because the immortal just has so much overkill on them. You're going to have a second gateway, so making progress towards the Warlock here, as these probes continue to fight. That's 3 workers lost already, though. Impact, again, completely all in to try and win this final game of the series. As you're going to see, I mean, those 2 gates aren't going to mean anything if this pylon drops down. Can he get another gateway up? I don't think so. Link speed finishes as well. And this immortal and this adept are going to be have to go so careful. Pylon goes down, and now you just can't really finish this Warlock, can you? I mean, more links coming in. The new pylon will be a target. We see probes being pulled from the high ground. That adept just survived in the back. That's really nice, because it will survive to continue to deal damage, and he will be able to wall off. No, he puts the pylon, then he pulls it away. I think herO thinks he's built a pylon there, so more lings are going to come in, and now they're going to head up into the main base. Well, an immortal about to pop into the middle of those Zerglings, and you can see that it's going to be a priority. He will come forwards now and build another pylon, but that should have happened before. But he pulled the probes back. He's going to pull away with the immortal. Does he save it? Yes, he does! herO saves the immortal, and that's a defense. Wow, absolutely huge save by herO. That immortal being alive is a huge game changer, because now this immortal can go across the map in the warp prism and apply so much pressure. Dropping the Twilight Council down as well. herO's down by 7 or 8 workers, but he did have the income lead for a good portion of this game until very recently, so that does give him a bit more army to work with, as again, it'll definitely be those immortals lifting up and heading across the map. So here we go, Warp Prism coming down to the bottom right, and the pressure will be applied in the next few moments. Twilight Council, either a fast charge or maybe even glaives here with the way that this game has gone. Just going to go straight into charge, okay. Extra gateways as well, so I think herO says, yeah, I kind of like my position, I feel like I'm doing good. You know, things like your tech and so on are going to be delayed from this opening, so I'm kind of happy just to set up into a bunch of gateways and to get ready to be extremely aggressive as when Immortal's dropping down. Immortal's on their own on great here. I wonder if it'd be worth getting the Temple Archives as well. herO's actually just on no gas mining at all, so he's purely committed to Zealot production. So he's just completely committed to this right now. Okay, well, Roach is on the way up, which, I mean, it kind of feels like Impact's getting the correct answer to this going. So Zealot's going to come down here and help to pick away at this pylon. The pylon takes quite a bit of damage. Roaches continue to come out. Obviously, the Immortals are very good against the Roaches. The one big issue is those Immortals are already low on health, so while they have their shields, as soon as their shields go down, they have to be so much more careful than usual, because they have no sort of, like, mistake room. Like, you've got no kind of room for mistakes, because if you don't lift them up when the shields are gone, they're going to die super fast from there. Well, again, this pylon got cleaned up, actually empowered one of these gates in the back. And we do just see more and more Roaches being built. Extra Zealots being warped in. Now warping these into the main base. A little bit overzealous, I almost feel. Like, I'm not sure why warp in already when there's obviously going to be still a... I don't know, like, the Roaches are just going to be here and they're going to be able to respond. The Zealots are chasing down those couple of Queens. I'm just surprised the rest of the army isn't moving across the map already, I suppose. Those Zealots continue to chase down. He is getting a couple Queens, and I mean, in the end, I would say this has turned out to be quite okay. If you can drop the Immortals low ground and save the Zealots, that's amazing. Only loses 3 Zealots in this attack, and now the rest of the army is showing up. Obviously, the extra Zealots will keep warping in too. Impact is supply blocked. Okay, well, this is looking okay for herO, but he needs to keep those Immortals alive, and the Warp Prism was quite far away there for a moment. Where does he go? Straight up into the natural? So many Roaches, man. You will see those Immortals straight away in a little bit of trouble. Has to lift them up and put them to the back of the army. The Zealots go charging on forwards. There's Queen going to go down as well, so the Warp Prism will be safe, but again, there's just so many Roaches, and they get themselves into a tucked away location. Warps in a bunch of Zealots on the main. He will be able to force field here. Okay, well, this is a big issue, because now he can force field, but of course, the Roaches and the Ravagers can corrosive bile, and so they can break through that force field, so it's not going to be an endless sort of onslaught on this main base that is never going to be dealt with. Those Immortals still being micro, but they're getting lower and lower and lower. Very, very low now as we see some Zealots chasing down drones. Honestly, herO, I mean, the biggest issue is the army, right? Like, he's just not got enough to deal with it at all, and so Impact, I think he's going to be able to do this. I mean, starting to build Roaches so soon was absolutely the answer to this sort of attack. And now hero's very limited in what he can do as a follow-up to this. As he just lifts up those Immortals one more time. Doesn't even get the extractor that he's trying to get here. I mean, he's retaken his gases. I just feel like after the Link Flood, herO could have just macroed very easily and been in a very comfortable position. Because, yeah, he, sure, Impact started to, build a few drones behind it, but I just feel like a larger kind of attack that moved towards free bases might have been just so much more successful, because he had an advantage, but he put all of his cards, all of his eggs in one basket on this attack, and, well, now he's hurting. So, Hard Revenge with another $5 donation says, why do American Valley Girls hang out in odd numbers? Because they can't even. I'm sure you've told me that one before, or you've used that one in Rifkin. Or maybe Rifkin even told me that one. I've heard that so recently, I know I have. Yeah. Thanks for the $5 though, appreciate the support, as we do see the couple of models in the Warp Prism having a look around. Dark Shrine dropping in from herO in the back of the Natural. I mean, this is just not looking pretty for our Zerg Protoss player, but we have seen Zest pull off some miraculous things in against Impact in the last couple of days, so I'm not going to say it's impossible. I'm not going to say it's over till it's over. I mean, those Zerglings running past Zealots and just taking damage for free, I mean, that's not going to help, obviously. The Immortals are keeping Impact pinned back, and Impact isn't teching beyond the Roaches and the Ravagers. So he also doesn't have a Roach speed started up, which is kind of feels like something you kind of need at this point. Immortals look back up there, drops down, a little bit dancing with those Ravagers, gets towards the mineral line. Again, you're just keeping the units pinned back more than anything. However, now Roach is coming across the map from Impact, and then he decides to pull back again. DT is about to finish. A lot more Roaches being built. Impact is just committing to a 50 drone all-in. So he's just going to move across the map with purely Roach Ravager with +1 missiles. Similar to what we saw in game number 1 of this series, if you guys remember back then. It was very, very aggressive. There's so many Immortals though. I think the biggest issue for herO is he could probably do with just a few more sentries. I think that would be a big thing. He is going to bring the Mortals back home, so he's realizing that this is an attack. He knows this is aggressive. Oh my god, you know what? There's no... Oh, there is an Overseer. Okay, the Overseer is important because with the DTs, that'd be pretty substantial if you could get the DTs into the army. There's multiple Overseers though, so the DTs won't do much. Just going to morph them into Archons. Obviously, that is a good way to help defend. +1 attack is already here for heroes and pushes forwards. Corrosive Files, Force Fields on the ramp, a little bit Corrosive File down. You can just see that herO doesn't really have the numbers at all initially, but Protoss units are a little bit more effective than Zerg units, but when they get on top like this, the Immortals drop so fast. The Zealots aren't here to defend. He tries to pull up to the high ground. He will get a few more Zealots running on the right-hand side, so the Ravagers go down pretty quickly, and that's a big deal because the Ravagers are very expensive to replace. And the Ravagers with Zealots on top don't have a fun time at all. A new War Prism being made. Did he lose the one across the map? Man, he's very, very inconsistent with these War Prisms. He keeps losing them and just making a couple mistakes. War Prism feels almost essential here to actually just defend with the Immortals and so on. Contaminate from the Overseer, though, will stop it from coming up. Oh, and Zergling's going to run into the main base. Oh, Changelings are blocking the ramp as well. Oh, this Archon on the low ground is in a bit of trouble. Has to run away. The other unit's pulled down. He finally kills off the Changelings there, so good play by Impact. Doing everything he can to mess with herO at the moment, because he actually hasn't done enough damage with this, and he is still building Roaches, so anything he gets done is great. Kills 8 probes, which brings herO down by 6 workers, so herO was in a worker lead until just now. 30 army supply difference, +2 missile starts, and a Spire out of Impact, so he's looking to make that switch in towards Mutalisks. Wow, herO defends. The Mutas are going to be the next big threat in this game for him. He has been sending a couple hallucinations across the map to scout. Obviously, the Spire is very new and fresh, so he hasn't seen that yet, but the fact that he was scouting until now means that he might continue to scout, and that would go very well for him. He's already building Blinken +2, so actually kind of feels like he expects this as a follow-up, probably because he knows it's one of the better ways for Impact to get back into this game. Well, herO is keeping the Protoss streams alive here for the day. We still have Zest as well, who's alive against Solar. And then he will be playing the next series coming up here shortly. As those Roaches and Ravagers heading down to the bottom. Can be seen again. Blink and +2 still on the way up. A single Zerglin coming in through the top side. Just keeping an eye on anything coming out of this main, just to get a rough idea. Hallucinated Phoenix has not got much life left on it, but it will see the Spire, and that's absolutely the scout you're looking for with that hallucination. So, I mean, you know it's going to be Mutalisk. And look at this, warping in Stalkers, pushing across the map. Now, the biggest issue I would say is there's nothing at home to defend, but there's also not really anything to... Oh, okay, he actually builds Roaches and Ravagers. Okay, because the Spire got scouted, so instead of building Mutants, he builds Roaches and Ravagers to deal with the fact that he's expecting herO to attack, to punish the fact that Mutalisks are going to be made. It's a smart decision by Impact, and I think herO doesn't really want to fight here now because of it, but he's already kind of here on the map, and Deep Force Field's coming down, he sees how much Roach Ravager there is. I think he's like, okay, well, let's get the hell away from this, but he will lose a couple units as he goes. He needs to be cautious. Still just do with another few sentries being brought into the army. herO's going to be on an odd position. He's going to have to come in from the left-hand side while Impact's kind of just diving straight up towards the base of the Cross player. Now some meters are being added on. Here come the Roaches already over here, so herO is definitely out of position to deal with this. I mean, his sentries that just walked in on the wrong spot. I mean, the army for some reason is cut in half here as well. Well, here we go. I mean, now units going to attack in from both sides. It's a sandwich of a Zerg player, but the Zerg just has so much. You don't really want to be like this as a Protoss a lot of the time. You want to be kiting away. And he's trying to do that with these Immortals in the War Prison right now, trying to guess which unit's going to take the hits. And he is saving a lot of Immortals. He does clean up. And he does have the potential to chase down these units with Immortals as well. The War Prison can kind of juggle those forwards, and he will get absolute maximum value out of this here. Still chasing down those last couple of Roaches. Will stop to warp in more Stalkers as he continues to press forwards here. +2 and Blink being done. He gets rid of the Overseers, could maybe even warp into DT with the army now as well, just because the Overseers have been killed off. So herO still making this happen. Stalkers in the front can, of course, blink backwards to minimize damage. Immortals, though, kind of unprotected. And again, that's the issue. But then the War Prism protects them by Microrain. The control has improved tenfold from earlier on in this series, because now herO is not letting a single unit die. The Queens will get the Prism, but it might just be too late. There's too many units. The Stalkers and the Immortals that remain are able to keep pressing forwards. Overlord down. And everything just going to get picked away on this base. Mirrors across the map will start to deal some damage, and he will recall home. No, he will recall Stalkers from the third. Okay, well, he just continues out over here. Gets the third base of the Zerg, continues to the left side. Those drones ran over here, so he's expecting there to be a base. Still losing some probes as herO will transfer to the top right-hand side, the fourth base there. These Roaches, I mean, they're going to be having drones to tank for them. I mean, these Immortals might just have to give up their lives because they're surrounded by drones, which is actually not pretty. Wow, the drone's actually saving the day here a little bit for Impact. Now, the Stalkers can blink away, but that's a lot of Immortals lost, which is obviously very painful when you still have a lot of Roaches to deal with. So he loses a lot of that bonus damage to the armored units, and the Roaches maybe become more of a threat. 44 probes to 47 drones. Stalkers blinking in to get a few more of these Mutalisks. I mean, more Stalkers warping in here as well. Muta should turn and get the Immortal barrier here, just in case he does turn out end up to fight soon. Would have been nice, but he doesn't quite find it. Well, you're just going to continue down the right-hand side. What a thrilling game number 5 this has turned out to be. Absolutely stellar StarCraft 2 as we see a few more probes pulling into the top right-hand corner. Stalkers hanging out here as well. Just going to blink around the Immortal gathering up. A few more Mutas into the main base. There are no probes in that main. There's no probes in the natural. They are all in the third or the fourth. Would love to see just a couple of cannons added on. We know he has a forge. He's got upgrades. Couple of cannons would just, especially against this number of meters, you only need like a cannon per base, and they can't then really do anything anymore. Well, pushing forwards, he's got the War Prism here again, which kind of fills me with confidence in terms of taking a fight. A couple of things getting picked off already. The Stalkers again just chasing those meters down and making sure they can't do anything. One more has been dropped, so it's only 3 meters remaining. Extra Stalkers warping in for this upcoming fight now. Only one Immortal though, and I will say that's, again, a big issue compared to what we've seen before. But the Stalkers have so much micro potential, but he just blinks to the side. It's an interesting choice. Guardian Shield is up on the right side units, but not on the left. We now see the Roaches targeting those sentries as a priority, but Impact does not have enough, and herO will take it down.